All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to more Black Desert. So today we are doing May's edition for our window shopping episode. So if you don't know, or you're new to your channel, have no idea what this series is, basically every month near the beginning, I talk about notable items on the central market. So whether you're on the NA server or just any other server, I try to talk about items that might be trending or because there's an event going on. So things that you should buy, sell, maybe enhance or profit, and just notable items in general for, I guess, everyone, whether you're a beginner all the way to endgame. So obviously, the prices are going to vary based on what server you're on. We look at it for the NA servers, but it's still a good idea to see the trends of things that happen throughout the month. And yeah, I think we had some interesting changes over the past month since we did it in April. So yeah, let's get started. So with that said, as we all know, we're going to go through weapons, armors, accessories, and then maybe any other notable items. But with that said, let's start out with weapons. Let's talk about, I guess it doesn't matter which weapon, but I say this in pretty much every video. People ask me, when is it a good time to switch into like Black Star from Zarka, assuming you are a new player? Nowadays, I honestly think that just straight up Black Star, whether you're a PvPer or a PvPer, is the way to go. Simply because like they give you one free Black Star for hitting level 61, right? And then nowadays with the amount of rewards they give you, it basically just everyone has at least a 10 Black Star or something these days. So with that said, the main hand Black Star is always the one that I would recommend people getting, especially the free one that you get at level 61. The reasoning why is because it gives a bunch of accuracy. So whether you are grinding certain spots, you're going to need accuracy, or you're a PvPer, obviously accuracy is very important. So, let's see the prices. As of the last month, when we did this in April, they were about 12 billion. Now they're tanking down to 11 or under 11 now. And the reasoning why I think a lot of prices have been fluctuating is because they added the guaranteed enhancing system. And by guaranteed, I mean there's just a light at the end of the tunnel. If you fail like X amount of times for whatever thing you're going for, eventually you'll get it. So it's one of those things where because there is a guarantee now, people with like will get it eventually. So yeah, I think almost everything is going to be dropping in prices except for like the very high end items. But for like a 10 Black Star, I think if you're thinking about upgrading into one now, or let's say you got the Awakening weapon and you're going for the main hand, now is like the best time to buy one. All right, so next we are looking at Awakening weapons. It doesn't matter what weapon, I just know like Dark Knight ones, so we kind of look at these. And because there is the guaranteed enhancing system now, I truly do think that if you're going for a Pen Black Star, right, going the Goddard route is not a bad idea. It's just if you're trying to, you know, do the prey on the guaranteed 100% failing, you might as well just slam Tet Depends and hope for the best instead of going through 4 more layers of Goddard and then getting the pen that way. However, I don't think it is bad if you are buying it at try and then like slamming for Tet and just using that one until you get your pen. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I just think that if you're just going straight Tet to pen, Black Star is the way to go. And yeah, so let's see. Black Stars are about 15 billion, at least the DK one is, because there's none listed. One was sold today for 14 billion. I think that if you are enhancing Black Stars for profit, the Awakening or the Offhand is usually the one you want to enhance for profit. Usually it's the Awakening, but we'll look at the Offhand one in a second as well. And then as for pen, man, this is a wild graph. Like, this is why we do these videos monthly, because it's like things like this happen. Last month, they were at an all-time high. This month, it's not. So, yeah, overall, I wouldn't really recommend anyone to enhance pen black stars for profit. I think if you're trying to enhance black stars, you just get it to Tet and then sell it. Keep in mind, though, that is a contested market because everyone else does it. And especially getting pen is kind of tricky and challenging. So, yeah, I think you're better off with higher profit margins from just selling Tet. All right, so with that said, got her. It's not bad. It's just, I just don't think you should be enhancing it from base to pen. Like, yeah, if it puts you up into a new bracket, that's obviously good. Saving up 100 billion is not necessarily the easiest thing to do for most people. But, yeah, I mean, if you were to buy it, I would buy it at try and then maybe slam it to Tet yourself. And then, you know, from Tet to pen, you cron everything. But I wouldn't really, you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's kind of weird to do now. All right, Offhands. This is where things get weird because this kind of also depends on what you like doing in this game. So whether you're a PvPer, PvEer, or you're like in the 1% and you want to have everything, understandable. So, Nuver. These are the PvP offhands. Let's see the prices. Everything is going down. Look at this pyramid graph. Wild. I would say for the most part, like, it was 10 billion last month. Now it's just 9 billion. Like, yeah, it's going down. But I mean, there's no right or wrong time to buy a PvP weapon because PvP is the same no matter how many months you look at it. So they are actually changing Node Wars in the near future. I read an update from the Global Lab thing. And so they're going to be revamping Node Wars in a while. But that doesn't really affect PvP as a whole. Like, there's still a lot of other things like open world, so on. So, yeah, Nuvers are one of those things, like, if you like PvPing, you just kind of buy one and go from there. Most people will have a Kudum, which is the PvP offhand. And as a new player, let me explain why Kudum is better. So if you look at Nuver, like, let's look at it at pen, for example. Most people would see this, especially new players, and be like, oh, 44 to 46 AP, right? That's cool. And then, but what you look at is the item description or the item effect where it says extra AP against monsters +5. So if we take the average of 44 to 46, it would be 45 AP, right? Plus you get 5 to monsters. So that's effectively 50, right? This is why it's for PvP, the AP carries over to human damage. Whereas if you're looking at Nuver or Kudum at pen, you'll see this one and it'll be like, oh, 31 to 33. So average is at 32. But it gives 62 AP against monsters, so that's significantly higher than just the overall AP. Like, you kind of combine them, but for monsters. So essentially, Kudum is better for PvE. PvE. Okay, so let's see the price of this. It's actually gone up a little bit. So it was like, well, actually, did it really go up? Here, the median was like 7.9 right now. I mean, like 7.7. So yeah, it looks like it went down in terms of graph charts, but it kind of just stayed the same realistically. So yeah, it's one of those things where if you are a new to mid-tier player and you're looking at this and you have a pen Kudum, that's perfectly fine. Here's where things get interesting, because when you're transitioning from like the mid-level to all the way to endgame, you're probably going to be thinking of transitioning into a black star. So the way it works is basically if you have a pen black star, that's the equivalent of a pen Kudum Capris 20. The difference realistically at maxed out stats is you're trading a little bit of accuracy for like a small amount of monster damage. So technically Black Star is better for higher end grind spots where the AP caps actually do matter. So yes, it's slightly better. You lose a little bit of accuracy, but is it really noticeable? For most people, unless you're grinding in like very high end spots, no, you will not notice a difference. But anyway, the reasons why you should get a Black Star, you are at the end game and that's your next upgrade, which is like pretty up there. Or you just like having triple black stars because your weapons, you want them all to look the same. Like you want 3 black stars, you want 3 Godders, you like red or purple. It's the reason why. But I would say if you already have a Pen Kudum, the upgrade to Black Star is not super noticeable. This is one of the things you upgrade when it's the last thing you have to upgrade. So, yeah, unless you like it for aesthetic reasons like red, purple, then it's cool. But I'm not here to tell you how to play the game. I'm just telling you realistically, stat-wise, what's different. All right, let's go look into the armors. So I cover this every month because there are obviously new players getting into this game, new players transitioning into the end game, and so let's talk about this. So at end game, your ultimate goal is to get all of the Fallen God armors, right? So this is one of the things where I think that you enhance partially, but at the same time you can just buy it. So let's talk about this. First of all, at the end game, Fallen God armors, best in slot, every class uses them, right? So if you are going to make it yourself and enhance it rate or route, let me explain what stacks I use. So from base to pry, I start at around like 90. They kind of give 100 stacks out like candy these days. So if you used 100, it's not even a big deal. You could start at 100 from base to pry, and then pry to duo, I would probably say around like 130 to 160-ish. And then, yeah, I mean, you could go higher. Just like that's kind of the average of what I would hit mine on. And then so from duo to try, I've seen people start at 160. I would personally start it at like 180, go up to like 210-ish from duo to try, just because, the downgrade cost is actually pretty high. So if you're enhancing it yourself, duo to try, probably 180 to 210. And then try to tet. This is the part where I truly think that you should enhance it yourself from try to tet, simply because it's very expensive. It's more expensive than black stars. And so if you basically use the highest stack you have. I personally hit mine all to tet at around 245 to 270 stacks. And so I actually do think it's worth it using a pretty high stack, just because the value of all the weapons is pretty high. And I think on average, most people can hit tet cheaper than it costs to buy it. Obviously, it is enhancing. There's always RNG involved. But I think on average, most people should be able to get it cheaper than the value. All right, so anyway, in terms of helmets, I truly do think Griffin is better than Gaiath nowadays, just because the difference is all resistance 5% versus 100 HP. And will you notice a difference? No, you won't. It's just, if you're PvPing, 5% to not get CC'd is worth a whole lot more than 100 HP. But the ultimate goal is to get the Libresca. So if you don't do any PvE at all, just get the one that's cheaper and then upgrade it yourself. So let's look at the prices. 17 bill for a Pen Gaiath. 16.5 for, 17 for Griffin, 16.5 for Gaiath. Like, if you don't care about PvP at all, just get the one that's cheaper, Capris 10 it, and you're good to go. So armors, the same thing applies. You would use the same stacks as I just told you. Black Star armor is a bait. You should not enhance it yourself, because I'll explain why Black Stars are kind of, irrelevant. So back in the day, there used to be a Capra Stone drought, and basically it was very difficult to get Capra Stones, right? So this was the alternative way to get a Fallen God. You would get it to Pen, right? Because you wouldn't be able to buy Capra Stones for the original route. Nowadays, Capra Stones just kind of sit on the market, and getting Pen is significantly harder. So I think that it's kind of a, beginner trap to try to get this to Pen. So just ignore this item. And in fact, ignore all the Black Star armors and just go for the red nose. So I don't know why they don't just equalize it nowadays, but Dim Tree and Red Nose are actually different compared to the other pieces where you have to get it to Capris 10, right? However, it costs more Capris Stones to get the Dim Tree to Capris 10 than the Red Nose. So the one thing you would have to do is check the prices of Pen and then check the price of Capris Stones to see which one would be overall cheaper. So Pen Dim Tree, 11.5 billion. Pen Red Nose, like 15 billion, 15.5. So keep that in mind, just like 4 bill difference on top of the Capris Stones. I think at a 4 bill difference, I actually do think it might be equalized to the point where getting them both to Capris 10 is roughly around the same price. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Especially if you're on different servers, make sure to calculate the price on how much Capris you need for it. You could look it up. There's a lot of guides out there as well. But anyway, just keep that in mind. This is the only tricky one to actually look at. Going into the glove section is where things branch off to evasion and DR, right? So most people are DR, myself included. Evasion is for the very high end, and there's a lot of videos explaining at what point you should swap to evasion. Should your class even swap to evasion? Should you stay DR? But anyway, let me explain the beginner traps to people. So keep this in mind. Look at the lever. This is the evasion one, right? And then at Pen, people see 62 DP, but it only has 25 accuracy, right? So people only really look at the DP number because it's the one on your sheet, and they don't really look at the other stats, whereas this one is 60, right? So people see this, it's like, oh, 15 bill and 60 DP, right? And then they see this one, and they're like, 13 billion, 62 DP. This one is probably better. When in fact, it's actually not true like that. So there's 2 Dawn gloves, the blue and the green one. The Beg's glove equates to the blue one. The evasion one is the green one. So I think for most people, just getting the Beg's glove is a lot better because it gives more accuracy. And we talked about that in the weapons and the Black Stars earlier, how accuracy is pretty important. And so you might get 2 less DP, but DP is less relevant. But you want to look at more of the brackets of DP. And what I mean by that is, I guess I have fishing gear on right now. But the way you look at this is, if you look at your damage reduction or just like any number in the bracket, you'll see like it gives an extra bonus based on your sheet. So that means that like you'll just have a bunch of extra stats. So putting your DP into a higher bracket is worth more than having the sheet number itself past a certain point. I have an entire video of that if you want to look at every breakpoint of what's important. Obviously higher is better, but like, you know, 400 DP versus 401 is actually a difference. So anyway, with that said, for most people, I would say go to Beg's route into Dawn. Once you get the Dawn gloves, these are the Fallen God equivalent. Let's say you chose the blue one, right? And then you eventually re-roll into an evasion build, which is green. It doesn't matter. You can swap it freely at the same level. It's not a big deal. You didn't make a mistake. It just costs a little bit of materials, but you don't have to restart. So that's good. You can just swap it between back and forth, whatever. And Black Star gloves, once again, beginner bait, like we talked about. And then the Ator shoes versus Uragan and Muskin. So Uragan is the DR route. So basically you would pair yours up with Uragans and Begs, or Muskin and Lieber for the evasion DR route. So this is actually the newest one they came out, or the last one. So the last piece in chronological order. So this is why it's the most expensive. And I think that this is one of the ones where it's actually difficult to get because you would have to be grinding it out for the most part. And so give it about a year or so, then it might equalize in price. But as of right now, the only people that have like the Ators and everything are the people at the very high end. So Like, I wouldn't worry about this one first if you're thinking about getting them in a certain order. This one should be the last one because it's the highest, like, most expensive, I guess. So, aside from that, same idea. Look at the price of Muskin, 15.5 billion for Pen, and like roughly the same for Uragons. So either way, if you don't know like what your class is, like whether it's evasion, DR, the best way to look at it is it doesn't matter what class you are. What you would look at is basically your passive skill. And does your passives give you evasion? And if so, then you're most likely an evasion class. And then if it doesn't, you're most likely a DR class. Obviously, there are a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, that's generally how it works. And if you have no idea what you are, feel free to ask in the comments or anything, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction. Same with this. Some people didn't know that, like, I always thought this was common sense, but, like, you know what kind of class you are, or combat? Dark Knights are magic, warriors are melee, archers are ranged. If you don't know, there's a combat type over here. Very cool. Now you know. All right, so accessories. Let's speedrun these. So, oh boy, this is something that we talk about every month, and it's kind of like rapidly changing. As we all know, Deboreka rings are coming out soon, TM. And so accuracy accessories are like mega tanking in price, and that's not good. We're gonna have to wait and see how the meta shifts, but like if you're going accuracy, you're most likely a PvPer. And so yeah, this is kind of a wild shift. Right now, ominous rings are still considered best in slot for accuracy to AP trade-off. However, once the Debo rings come out, that might change. So be wary of buying any sort of accuracy accessories. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, like, if you plan on getting it, just know the price might tank like 50% when you get the upgrade. So just keep that in mind. Like, if you like PvPing and that's all that matters, I mean, by all means, go for it. But just keep in mind that resale value might change. So because they came out with the Old Moon accessory thing that you can all make in exchange for now, getting a Pen Crescent ring is basically like 40 billion silver that you don't have to spend. So for a lot of people, from beginner all the way to like entry level endgame, which whatever that means, I truly do think a Crescent ring is not bad at all. Let's actually see. Well, yeah, so like you get 2 of them, you save 40 billion silver, like 22 each. That's like 40 billion that you can invest into anything else. So I think that's good. And then we have Eye of the Ruins and Tungrad rings. So Eye of the Ruins is basically the equivalent of a Crescent ring, but with HP. So for like the more tankier builds and stuff. 30-ish billion. If you have a Crescent, as of right now, we're kind of in a spot in the game where we don't know when Deboreka rings are going to come out. So if you're at Crescent, like double pen Crescents, that's fine for now. And then think about what you want to do in the future, whether you want to go Tungrad rings or Deborekas. Personally, I went double Tungrad rings because the prices were different when I bought them. Nowadays, it's at like an actual all-time low because people are anticipating Deborekas soon. So I remember paying like 100 bill each for my Tungrad rings, and now they're like 70, which that doesn't mean they're bad. They're still best in slot right now. It's just like the higher end people are kind of predicting and trying to sell it off now rather than later. So yeah, if it were up to me right now, if you have Crescents, that's fine. You could stay with them. If you really want to push out that 1 extra AP temporarily, go Tungrads, and be very careful with accuracy accessories in general. Okay, so the next 3 are Deborekas as well. So over time, I always told people to get the one that's the cheapest, like whether that's Ogre, Leighton, or Tungrad, because they're essentially the same. One gives Black Spirit. I think Tungrad accessories are not going to be terrible because they're going to be adding an effect on them in the future with like 3 or maybe 4, 5 piece set effect. It gives more AP. So I don't think that's going to be completely irrelevant. However, as the years pass, ogres are no longer like, I always told people that they were like, yeah, that's fine. It's like, it's still good. But I think truly now, Debarekas are just a way to go because obviously ogres are going down in price drastically. And so here's how I think of this now. Pen Ogre is obviously, it's not bad. However, at Pen, that's it. There's no upgrades to it. Whereas later on, you might as well invest in a little bit of extra silver to buy a Tet Debo. And because eventually your goal is to get Pen, right? So obviously, Ogres would be a dead end upgrade at 35 AP. This is 34, so yeah, it's a little bit less. But the goal is to upgrade it to Pen in the future, and then this is currently best in slot. So, with that said, I think for everyone, just get a Debo if you're going the AP route. Otherwise, accuracy accessories, this is very scary, actually. I remember, I think maybe 2 years ago, maybe even more, Pen Lunars used to be like almost 200 billion silver. Now they're like less than 50, which is very scary, actually. So, yeah, once again, the hard truth is be careful of accuracy accessories. I don't think they're bad. I just think that the value you spend now is, you know, it might go down, it might go up, who knows. But with Debarekas, most people are just AP glass cannons these days anyway, so yeah. For most people, I would honestly just recommend getting a Tet, and then once you're at the point where you want to upgrade to Pen, you do that. But I don't think Tungrad necklaces are bad. They're just like not best in slot. Yeah, aside from that, that's all that. So next, let's talk about belts because the earrings are the most flexible ones. So once again, Debareka belts are best in slot, kind of like the necklace. Churros are very scary as well because no one really wants to see like ups and downs when you do that. Accuracy, and then same with the other ones. Basilisk belt is the crescent equivalent. Voltara is the Eye of the Runes equivalent. Tungrad is the Black Spirit Rage one, which I don't think is bad. I just never really thought Tungrad belts were good, simply because the price you pay for the extra Black Spirit Rage, it just wasn't worth it. So for most people, I think the Voltara is a really good middle ground for a lot of people, because it gives the same as the Bassi belt, plus it gives a bunch of extra HP. So survivability is very solid, and yeah, I think that's fine. But for all of you at the end game, Debareka, my stance is still the same. Get a Tet, and then when your goal is to upgrade, you get it to Pen. Tabex belt is a unique item, I would say, simply because the way it works is, if you've never seen this before, basically when you have the belt equipped, it gives you an extra skill ability, and you can see at the end, it gives you basically like 30 AP for 1 minute, all DP, and an accuracy rate. So it is a very strong burst ability. However, once you use it, you can't like swap your belts in and out. That would be a little bit too good. So they decide to add a cooldown on it of 10 minutes. I see these belts used in large-scale PvP, node wars, and when like uncapped things when people are doing like huge pushes. So I think this is a very specific use of PvP only. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's one of those things where it's like, if you are at the point where you're thinking about upgrading to this, you already know what your build is. You already know what you're doing. If I were to fix this belt, what I would do is lower the cooldown from 10 minutes to like 3 minutes. That will allow people to do, you know, swap in and out, but still have the temporary thing. Cause like you have the buff for 1 minute, right? And then for the next 9 minutes, you're just like, okay, I guess I'm like negative DP or negative AP for something. So I would just lower the cooldown from like 10 to 5. It'll allow bigger strategy or like bigger plays, better strategies in PvP. And then it'll also add more coordination between like high-end groups. So like who goes first, second, third. So yeah, I think it would add more strategy if they just lowered the cooldown on it. The stats itself, the trade-off is fine. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's unique. I don't think it's bad. It's just very, very specific. So yeah, that's about it for that. And then earrings. All right, so whenever the new Deboreka rings come out, I do truly think that Dawn earrings will be more valuable. Obviously, they're the most expensive accessories right now, but yeah, I think they'll go up in price when the earrings come out, or the rings, I should say. And Valha's Dawns and Black Distortions, they're the same thing. You just get them in different ways. You get Distos from grinding, mostly Star's End, and then very rarely from Calpheon Elvia spots. Valha's Dawns are from the Ataraxian dungeons. This is one of those things where I like to look at every month and just see what kind of dumb things people do. All right, so 92 billion for a Pen Valhas. Kind of crazy, actually. And then 85 for a Disto. They are the exact same stats. You get the one that's cheaper. You know what's wild, though? I spent 160 billion for my Disto back in the day. This was before Deboreka earrings were announced. And so, do I regret it? No, not at all. I still have it. I just lost a lot of money on it, but it's okay. It's still a used item, believe it or not. It's just not as valuable as it used to be. And so Deboreka earrings are one of those things where it's not bad, but you have to use it right now because it's part of the 3-piece accessory set to get to 12 AP. So yeah, it's good, but this is a flexible spot. Like once the rings come out, it's kind of irrelevant. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. And then there's Narc earrings, which are basically more AP at the higher end, but you have to be grinding in the Kama Sylvia area. So there's that. I don't think Narcs are very bad at all, despite the price going down. I actually have a Narc earring, and I would get 2 of them when we go for the other one. So like this is my one from the Old Moon, and then I can make a second one. So I don't think these are bad at all. It's just like kind of specific to Kama Sylvia areas, and it gives a little bit of extra DP. So if you want to try out a new grind spot but you don't know if it's safe enough, then that's one of those things. So that's all the accessories I wanted to talk about. Guess there's a few more things I wanted to talk about. Let's see, where is it? Alchemy Stones. Perlibus kind of forgot they existed in this game. Most people should get a Vel. I think that, you know, if you can get this for free by doing the quest, it's fine. But for like beginners, you should go for the Ator's Power Stone by doing the Ulukita quest line. That gives 1 AP. This one gives 2. Obviously, Vel's Heart gives 3. Best in slot. For most people, Vel's Heart will be where you stop. For the upper like 1% people, the Splendid and Shining are where you want to be at. Myself included. I'm trying to go for a Splendid one day, but these don't exist. So that's what it is. But for everyone who's a beginner, honestly, just using like a Destruction Stone, a Spirit Stone, does like one-time use kind of thing. Once the durability is out, you melt it for whatever those mystical powders. So yeah, using an Alchemy Stone is definitely better than not using it. So even if you're a very new player, using one of these is obviously just going to give you more stats. So just make sure to use them. It is what it is. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. Like, I have videos on like all my crystals and artifacts and light stones. I could find that on the channel as well. But that's about it. wanted to talk about this month's updates, and I hope you enjoyed it. So with that said, whether you're a new player, returning player, or a veteran player looking to get better, that's what my videos are about. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop a quick like, hit the subscribe button. And I post pretty regularly, updating a lot of my guides, doing some fun stuff as well, enhancing and everything, playing the game. So that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.